Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be taking a look at the tropics today. As you can see in the Gulf Coast, we have a tropical disturbance that has an 80% chance of formation in the next 48 hours, and throughout the next 5 days we have a 90% chance of formation. Since we just got over a fish storm named Bill, we're on to a sea storm named Claudette. Please correct me if that's wrong, but that's what I'm going to call for now. Claudette is set to impact the Gulf Coast regions such as Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, and it doesn't look to be much more than a tropical storm, if even that. But the storm isn't going to be that impactful with winds, but it's going to be very impactful with the flash flooding. There could be pockets of 6 inches according to the models, and pockets of even more than that maybe, but as of right now, that is what it looks like to be. In the Eastern Pacific, we also have another disturbance that has a 60% chance of forming in the next 48 hours, and in the next 5 days an 80% chance of forming. In the Central Pacific, there is no tropical activity. It is all nice and peaceful by Hawaii. If we take a look at the GFS, as you will see on the bottom of your screen, you do have Tropical Storm or Tropical Depression Claudette forming out of the Gulf, but at least according to the GFS and other models, it looks like to be fairly weak, if even making it to a tropical depression. But as you can see here by this bulk of rain, this is where the jackpot of rain is going to be, where the flash flooding will be. Just on top of New Orleans or just east onto Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida, that will eventually stretch up into parts of central Alabama into northwest Georgia and could possibly reform off the northeast coast, as some models have been showing. It all depends on this cold front that comes through. Does the cold front come in time just to kick it off just south of the coast, or does it come a little bit later, forcing the storm to go a little bit more north? And as you see by some models, it does form off the coast of the northeast. According to the GFS here, sorry about that, but according to the GFS, you could see anywhere from possibly nothing into central Texas, all the way up into pockets of 7 to 8 inches if you were in southern Mississippi, Alabama, and New Orleans. Now, this is just one run. If we go back to the next, you can see that has more widespread rainfall, and as you go back more and more, the track of the system becomes more and more variant. If we switch on to the Canadian here, you can see that it's pretty much in line with the GFS. It is, if not a little bit weaker, but a little bit more rainfall. As you can see, there's more rainfall in southern Mississippi and Alabama. And as you go on, you can see there's a little bit of a pink speck. If we go a little bit closer on this, pink speck, where this is very heavy rain that could cause torrential flooding and even anything else really. Could cause houses to be moved, could also be causing some mudslides. But like I was talking before, you could have this low pressure system reform off the Gulf Stream that is right up here. It could feed this storm to be a little bit stronger than anticipated. Last run, you could see if the cold front was a little bit quicker, and as you can see, it's a little bit slower, causing the storm to move a lot more north. If we go on a total cumulative precip here for the Canadian and get a little bit of a closer up, you can see that you have, this is pretty much the track of the central system, where the heaviest rain is pretty much the track of the system, according to Canadian. You can see that you have pockets of yellow, which this could be up towards of 10 inches, which could be very possible. It really does depend how strong the system gets and how slow it moves. And you also have pockets of 7, 8 inches in central and southern, extreme western parts of Georgia and extreme eastern parts of Alabama. And if we move on to the NAM here, as you can see in a moment, just let me pull it up for you and jump to 14 hours. You can see this storm for the NAM is a little bit more westward than the other models. It brings this system into the border of almost Louisiana and Texas, but the NAM actually makes it a little bit stronger each run as you go back. But as you can see, the recent runs have been showing this storm to be a lot weaker, which is always a good thing. But if I am correct, it also shows a lot less rainfall. I'll be the judge of that. And just one back, hold on. It actually does bring a little bit less rainfall to the coast, which is always a good thing. But the NAM still shows around 2 to pockets of 6 inches in eastern Texas. But, like I said before, these models can go anyway. We have 84 hours until this system gets at least into the heart of Tennessee, Arkansas, and even Texas. So we still got a little bit of time to go. Now, if we take a look at the European here, you can see the storm is in the Gulf by 42 hours and eventually makes its way into Louisiana, bringing the bulk of the moisture and precipitation to the east of the storm, and eventually does what the Canadian does and forms it off the coast. As you can see, this cold front is more back up into Canada, so this storm has a free ride into the northeast, and could actually bring some rain and winds into the northeast, such as Long Island and New Jersey and even Delaware, according to this model. Now, if we go back a run from this model to see if it does do the same thing, I haven't looked at this yet, so we'll be looking at it together. So, it actually brings a storm a little bit more, if not the same track, and then it actually brings it a little bit more south from the last run. This last run brings it right over Long Island. It is still weak, relatively. It's like what it's going to make a landfall into the Gulf, but it does get eventually picked up by a cold front. It could be turned into an ex-tropical storm, strengthening it as it brings it up to Canada, and eventually, finally, goes away. But as you can see here, the cold front does still come up. It still does come just south of Long Island this time, and the cold front is a little bit slower to pick it out. Now, if we go look at the total rainfall, according to the European, it does show a hefty amount. It does show, as you can see here, in pockets of New Orleans, we could have 8 inches, almost 9 inches, pockets of Louisiana and Mississippi. You can have pockets of anywhere from 5 inches. So let me see if I can find anything heavier. Doesn't look like that. Western Florida, 3-4 inches, and Alabama, you can see the same thing. It looks like Louisiana and Mississippi, Alabama, Florida would be getting the bulk of the rain. Texas could see some rain out of this depending on the track. And as you continue on, you could see that the Northeast could get a little bit of rain as well. It's definitely going to get rain if it out of this cold front, it looks like, if tropical storm, or I could say 92L, doesn't give rain to the Northeast. And if we take a quick look at the WPC's total 7-day precipitation, you can see that it does give a significant amount of rainfall for this area of Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, and Florida. Gives them around 4 inches as this lightest yellow, and as you get darker and darker, you can see pockets of maybe even up to 8 inches here. As you move out of this, you can see Texas does eventually get into an inch or 2 range. Tennessee gets into 3-inch range, almost 2-3 inches. And North Carolina and South Carolina almost completely covered in an inch or 2 of rain. If we take a look at my map real quick, and let me clear this out for you guys. This is where the tropical disturbance is. I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, sorry about that. The tropical disturbance is just north of Mexico. This is scenario 1, where it goes into Texas, causing rainfall to go into Houston pretty much. That is looking more and more unlikely as more models suggest to scenario 2, the likely option right now. That goes into Louisiana, and bulk of the rainfall goes into New Orleans, Jackson, Mobile, Pensacola. And scenario 3 looks like it's the least likely option as of right now. I might have said that for scenario 1, but this is definitely the most least likely option, as it goes into Tallahassee pretty much, in between Pensacola and Tallahassee. But most likely, scenario 2 is going to happen. No matter what, if you were in this area, I would still pay close eye onto it unless you're in Tampa. I think you should be good, but you should be aware of the riptide currents. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will update you more as I get more information. Thank you.